You're on.
My name is Kira Allen. I am from the Oregon team representing Inza Arwood Middle School.
My name is Mia Serrano, and I'm representing Marshwood Middle School from Elliott, Maine.
My name is Sadhana Theramarase, representing Rachel Carson Middle School from Virginia.
My name is Grace Roberts, and I'm representing Coronado K-8 from Arizona.
My name is Bailey Wilson, and I'm representing Fisher Junior High from Indiana.
My name is Sophia Din, and I'm representing Stanley British Primary School from Colorado.
My name is Megan Bear. I'm representing Bob Graham Education Center from Florida.
Hi, my name is Samantha Jolly. I'm representing Gahanna Middle School South, and I'm from Columbus, Ohio.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. National anthem. Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed as the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight were so ramparts we watch, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the lands of the free and the home of the brave?
That was wonderful. Thank you very much. Not only was it wonderful, but was in tune, which is a remarkable achievement. Congratulations to all of you. I want to congratulate all of you for participating here. Thank you, and all those who made it possible for all your hard work. I was able in the last 3 days to see every class and some twice, and you were just incredibly impressive. I must tell you, I did not see a class, a group, or a student that did not do an excellent job. Your knowledge of the Constitution, its history, and contemporary application of the Constitution was truly remarkable. Many judges have said that they think that you probably know more than 95% of the American public, and I think that's probably true. So just for fun, let's take a little survey and see how many of you think that you know more about the history and the principles of the Constitution than your parents. Please raise your hand. Isn't that interesting? Okay, put your hand down. How many, now raise your hand and keep it up. How many have a parent who knows more than you do? Okay, that's probably less than 5%. Okay, keep your hand up. Now, if your parent is a professor or a teacher, drop your hand. If your parent is a lawyer or a judge, drop your hand. If your parent is a member of government, drop your hand. Okay, so that leaves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I really need to know. What is your parent? What's your parent? Say out loud. Works at a bank. That is an unusual. He is really smart. That's great. By the way, you realize your parents have not had an opportunity to go through the kind of program that you have because it's not taught widely in the schools. Okay, your parent. Louder? A dentist. I think I'd let that dentist drill my teeth. So, okay, just a couple more. Yes? A mailman? That is remarkable. That is a remarkable mailman. He can deliver on the Constitution. Yes. Pardon me? Can somebody repeat that louder? Works for Pepsi. Okay, well, those are some. Okay, there's one more over here. A chiropractor. All right. Did he major or he or she major or minor in political science or history at school? Oh. Oh, I see. Okay. Well, anyway, yes. Okay, last one. Pardon? Okay. That's wonderful. Okay. Well, I think my point is proven that there were at least 95% of you knew more than your parents. If you know more than your parents, you probably know more than most adults in the United States. Now, for the last several days, I know you've been very busy, involved in this competition. You might have watched the news some to keep up what's going on because it might be relevant to your testimony and so forth. But I think you probably have not been aware of what's going on in the local news. And there have been a series of strange events that have been reported here. And you might know that James Madison, father of our Constitution, had a plantation about an hour's drive from here. And he's buried on that plantation. They've recently rebuilt that plantation and his house just as it was when he lived there. And there have been some strange things happening. There's a small town near it called Culpeper, Virginia, and they have a local newspaper and a very small local news TV station. But on that station, they've been reporting for at least the last 4 or 5 weeks strange things, swarms of fireflies swimming over his grave, rumblings in the ground. Recently, a farmer reported just last week that a cow gave birth to 3 goats and a chicken. And so they got out a seismograph to see what was going on with the rumblings in the ground, and they traced it to his grave and found out that he'd heard about public ignorance of the Constitution, even among the highest levels of government, and was so upset that he was turning over and over in his grave. But then he heard that there was a group of brilliant students nearby that knew more about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, than 95% of the American public. And he popped right out of his grave. He texted me because he's up to date on social media and so forth. And he insisted upon coming here to meet with you. Now, would you please join me in welcoming the father of the Constitution, the 4th President of the United States, James Madison. You're welcome. President Madison, this is what's called a microphone, If you speak into it, it'll make it easier for everyone to understand you and hear you.
I could have used that years ago. I thank all of you for having me here today, at least the invitation, and to appreciate that reports of my early death have been very premature. Circumstances of our government in 1776, status of the society of 13 separate and distinct colonies were very critical at the time. We had all been members of the English Empire, considered ourselves Englishmen. And with the several events that occurred before 1776, we embarked upon a new course of action, a new course of government for the people of these 13 separate and distinct colonies. In declaring independence, each one of those colonies renounced their English ties, formed provisional governments, and sought to work together with other colonies that were very different from one another in their matters of jurisprudence, in their habits and customs, their religions and such, and decided to coordinate their efforts to resist the British effort to denounce and put down the revolution. In so forming themselves into 13 colonies, they formed the Articles of Confederation, which is pretty much talking to the chorus and the congregation and mentioning these things. But the process was very dramatic in very broad terms. Instead of being ruled by a king from England, we sought to form a government that would govern the people and not rule the people. We fought very long and arduous war to secure that independence. And the difficult things for later generations to appreciate is the cost and the tension, the uncertainty of the course of events that were undertaken in 1776. The uncertainties of the war that brought about the conclusion of the American Revolution, at least militarily, and then to find themselves 13 separate and distinct states, sovereign by nature, each with plenary powers, none with an authority higher than themselves. They formed the Articles of Confederation to work together, first in times of war for the Revolution, and then in terms of dealing with times of peace and the numerous problems that ensued during those years from 1783 to 1789 were profound. In keeping with the custom and with the advices of the Declaration of Independence, we sought to govern ourselves and not to be ruled any longer. We placed the sovereignty not into the hands of the king, but into the hands of the people. The confusion, the discord, the differences and debate and opinions were rampant throughout the country. And nonetheless, a group of us had gotten together in Philadelphia and prepared a new government that would have the same objects and purpose as the Articles of Confederation, but sought to put new authority and new energy into this new government. A new government limited in its scope to define the objects of the national government for all the states, to subordinate the states to these national purposes, and leave all other elements of sovereignty to the respective states themselves. There's a great difficulty in trying to achieve these ends. It did not come easily. Every day and nearly every turn, there were forces at work that would suppress our efforts, indeed, completely annihilate them. Forces from Europe and internal forces that worked against the prospect of a United States of America and operating under a national government that was the Constitution and limited in its authorities. All of you may read, perhaps in your various history books and your accounts from your parents, the course of particular events that led to this time. But what is difficult, of course, is for later generations to feel the discord and the tensions that persisted. Your presence here denotes a particular interest in the government that was formed and its operation. Look around with each one of you. Look around at the people next to you. And these are the people with whom you should be dealing with the next 50 years, either in local governments or state governments or in the national government. You are the people who are separate from a lot of others of your own generation, who have pursued the details of matters which are so critical to the success and continuation of the Constitution and thus the United States of America. Your presence here has been commended by many people, I am sure. And surely to be here and to win competitions in your respective states is noble. But I do not commend you for your successes here. I suggest that your presence here is merely fulfilling that public duty which all of us have incurred since we are all your age. The diffusion of knowledge, diffusion of interest, diffusion of debate is the critical essence for the continuation of this Constitution. It does not proceed by inertia. It does not proceed by force and will of anyone but the people themselves. And amongst all the people of your generation, you are the few who may be guiding the others when they become passionate and led astray. It is critical that you realize what this situation is, and that you're important not only to your own generation, but to those behind you and those in front of you. That the public debate continues without interruption. Your satisfaction of the circumstances that brought you here this evening are most satisfactory to me. I am in the last chapter of my own life and can do no more to educate myself in the public field. I can educate myself, but not in public life. You people, however, are at the first chapter of your life. You people will be writing the next chapter for the next 50 years, the next several chapters of the American story. Your preparations now must be critical, because by the time you're 21 years old, you will immediately be in the fray of public life. And there'll be no turning back to saying, I should have learned this, I should have learned that. Now is the time that you learn it. And I am sure that I shall rest easy. When I was a young man, my father used to say to me when I rather faltered in my duties, my chores as a child. He said to me, Jemmy, he said, there are two ways to get to the top of an oak tree. One can either climb it or sit on an acorn and wait. This is no time for the American people to be sitting on acorns, and certainly no time for you. The degree of your preparation means the degree of preparation for the country. And I hope you can appreciate that. I look upon all your faces and see blank expressions in some of them, which might indicate some inability to comprehend that which I've already said. But I can assure you this is far more difficult for me to say than it is for you to understand. And your purposes are easily to be acknowledged, but it's far difficult to fulfill that dream than it is to dream it itself. I appreciate your attendance here. I appreciate the attendance of Mr. Quigley and the organizations that have brought you here. I also express my appreciation to those who have served their own time, and your parents and the hosts from your respective states. I don't think I've ever addressed an assembly quite this size. The most was perhaps 55 in the convention in 1787. So forgive me if I'm a little bit nervous to see so many of you. The only thing that gives me confidence is that your height and mine are so similar. I thank you very much for your attention. Let's be.
I would now like to talk about a little something apart from the regular ceremony tonight, and that is, as some of you may know, last week we had our national competition here at the high school level, attended by teams from every state, I believe, almost 1,200 students, 800 and some parents, and a number of students and parents asked how they could help continue this program and make it available to more students. So if you'll excuse me, I will give you a couple of ideas of how you might help if you wish to. Before I go into the suggestion how you might do something, let me just give you a little bit of background about this program. This program was started in 1987. It was funded by the Commission on the Bicentennial of the United States Constitution, chaired by the late Chief Justice Warren Burger, who was the chairman of the National Advisory Committee of this program. And as a matter of fact, the first textbook he helped to edit. In fact, I'm embarrassed to say that when he read through the first textbook, he found some errors about the federal judicial system. And so we obviously hastily corrected those errors. But he was a wonderful supporter of the program. Every time we would have an event like this, he would come and speak and meet all of the students. And he considered this probably one of the greatest bits of his legacy as the chairman of the Commission on the Bicentennial. And this program was funded directly by Congress. In other words, Congress gave the Bicentennial Commission the funding and directed it to be funded for this program. After the Bicentennial Commission closed down at the end of the bicentennial of the Bill of Rights in 1991, Congress shifted this program to the U.S. Department of Education. And it was funded then on up until about 2010, when Congress passed a law that prohibited itself from funding anything other than a governmental agency. So any national nonprofits that have been funded up until then, such as Project in Arts and Education, the National Writing Project, and so forth, were no longer funded by the federal government. And Congress then put funding in the Department of Education where those programs could compete for federal funding, which we have done. At the height of the funding of this program, we had about $15 million a year. With that funding, we were able to provide free professional development for teachers in all 435 congressional districts in all 52 states and the District of Columbia, free classroom curricular materials, and subsidize national competitions such as this by subsidizing the airfare and part of the ground package. We were reaching about 3 million students a year at a cost of about $5 a student, which was very cost effective. Unfortunately, that funding was cut. Fortunately, all of our states who had developed their own funding for the program in many instances were able to pick up and continue the program, and so it continues. We continue to attempt to get Congress to provide more funding for the program, for the professional development of teachers, for curricular materials, and to subsidize events such as this. We could use your help if you're interested in helping. And that we could also use your help, first priority, in helping your state programs. Because in a number of states, the programs have lobbied their state legislatures, and at least 9 states now, the program is supported by the state legislatures, which is wonderful. And our state coordinators need that kind of help in having people supporting the program contact their members of Congress. And you know, despite what everyone might say, individual constituent contacts to members of Congress have an impact. If you write a letter to your member of Congress, they consider that that letter represents about at least 100 other people in their congressional district that have the same opinion and support the same programs you do. One time, as a matter of fact, Mark Molly and I, who have lobbied Congress for ages, and if you walked on Capitol Hill, you'll see the stone marble steps worn down. We've eroded those steps. They said, one person said, you know, you guys are great, I believe you, and you know, we want to support you, but one constituent visit on supporting that program is worth 100 of your visits. So you can make a difference, and students can make a difference. You can't vote, but you can still make a difference. And some of you, I heard, I have been contacting your members of Congress and having an impact. Just to give you an idea of students having an impact, in Florida some time ago, you might have met the Judge Jackie Viana. She has been here. She was a teacher, and she taught in the Project Citizen program, which is also supported by our center. And it's a program where students look at problems in their community, they identify a problem, they propose solutions to the problem, and then they develop political action plans to get their program adopted by local government or state government. Well, her students picked the problem of not having drug-free zones around public parks in Florida. So they thought this was detrimental to the community. So one year, they went to their state legislature, in the lower house of the state legislature. They wrote a bill, got the people in the state legislature to put it in the correct language, and they got the lower house of the Florida state legislature to pass that bill. But it didn't pass the upper house. They didn't give up. The next year, they went to the state legislature. They got the lower house to support it. They got the upper house to support it. The legislature passed the bill, and Governor Jeb Bush came to their classroom and signed the bill into law. So they changed the law in the state of Florida. That was students, middle grade students, as a matter of fact. Also, this is another sort of charming anecdote. The class from Arizona, the last couple of years, had a young boy. It was mostly Hispanic. The class was mostly Hispanic, and he was also. And anyway, he knew that Justice Sotomayor was Hispanic. So he took it upon himself, this 12-year-old student, to call, when he knew he was coming back here to take part in this program, he called the office at the Supreme Court of Justice Sotomayor and asked for a meeting between her and his entire class. And she agreed to do it. The day that the meeting came up, unfortunately she was sick, but she arranged for Justice Kagan to meet with that class. So they went to the Supreme Court and met with a member of the Supreme Court and discussed constitutional issues with her. You, students your age, can have an impact. So if you're interested in supporting this program and gaining support and helping us gain support from Congress, and more importantly, interested in helping your state coordinators gain support from your state legislatures, contact this website and sign up to be a friend, an alumni of or a parent, supporter of the We the People programs. It will ask you for three things: your name, your congressional district, and your email address. And I promise you, we will not blitz you with emails. We will send you, and you can cancel, we will send you a newsletter about every 3 months updating you on all of the programs in the United States and programs similar to this around the world in the 82 other countries, mostly emerging democracies, that are participating in our program. It will ask you, okay, so your name, your email address. What was the other thing? I forgot. Congressional district. At any rate, then when we need help, we will send you a request and say, please write your state legislator or your member of Congress, and we will give you talking points to put into your letter. All you need to do is send that off or email that off, and you can have a very significant impact on the program in your state, your school district, your congressional district, and in the United States. So I hope that you will sign up. And by the way, students, please, if you do this and we send out a request, it's probably best to check with your parent whether or not you should do it. But we hope that you and your parents will help to support the program. Okay, now it is my pleasure. I'm the executive director of the center, all the programs of the center. Bob Lemming, whom most of you have met, I believe, is the executive or the director. Sometimes he tries to be executive director, but nevertheless, he is the director of the We the People program. It's my pleasure to introduce him.
Well, how are we doing tonight? I don't think so. Let's try that one more time. How are we doing tonight? All right. You know, to a large extent, the quality of this competition relies on a group of people, many of them who have gone home already, but a few I think are still here. But let's give a great round of applause to our judges that have been working with you this weekend. And behind the scenes, there are a lot of people who work at this event that you don't necessarily see maybe once in a while, but our state coordinators and other coordinators who come to volunteer this weekend to make sure you've had a great event. Let's give them a hand as well. Then there are those who aren't even here at the Center for Civic Education office in Calabasas, and the staff that are here who work tirelessly. The Center for Civic Education staff, thanks so much for all of your work. And then my favorite. I love the fact that parents and grandparents and siblings come to see what's happening at the 5th National Invitational. Let's give all of them a hand as well. And there has to be a sort of a general who sort of leads the charge for the entire operation. And my pleasure to introduce to you tonight, is Maria Gallo, who is the Director of Professional Development and Special Programs, who's worked tirelessly to make sure this event comes off the way it should be. So Maria, please come up. See, she just told me to say one more thing. And we should not forget them as well, because they work hard on this weekend in terms of getting you to Washington, D.C., getting you here on time. Let's give a great hand to World Strides.
Oh my God, it's so wonderful to see you all from up here. So we're going to, it is my absolute pleasure and privilege to give an award to each of your teachers to bring back to the school in recognition of all the hard work you've done, but more importantly, all the hard work they've done. And having been a former teacher and a former We the People teacher, I pretty much know how much work they've done. So before we do anything else, let's give your teachers a very warm round of applause. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to ask in alphabetical order by state for the teacher, just the teacher by themselves, or teachers, because in some classes we have two names, to come up and get the plaque from Mr. Lemming. And please don't forget to look in the back where Jessica is. Wave, Jessica. Jessica Martinez is the new program coordinator at the center, and she's live streaming this on Facebook. So we want to make sure that your pretty faces look over it there and you get an opportunity. And I'm going to apologize in advance if I misspell your name or mispronounce your name. I do apologize. So, teachers, if you could just come up that way when I call your name, it would be great. Oh, and Mr. Dunlap is willing to take a picture. He's so nice. He was your judge, and now he's volunteered to be the photographer. We use everybody. Okay, so let's begin. Erica Sparlin from Coronado K-8 School in Arizona. Allison Levy and Mike Wislenki, and I know I slaughtered that, I apologize. Stanley British Primary School, Denver, Colorado. Jackie Hernandez and John Brady. For the rest of the audience, they're from Bob Graham Educational Center, Miami Lakes. Thank you so much. It's wonderful. I'm sorry about your last name. Okay, Mike Fasshold, Fishers Junior High School. Andy Rowe, excuse me. Andy Rowe, Marshwood Middle School, Maine. Thank you so much. And Michael Browning, Gahanna Middle School, South, Ohio. Linda Kohler, Inza Arwood Middle School, Oregon. And Cynthia Burgett, Rachel Carson Middle School, Virginia. All right, and so to continue with the program and the awards, it is my great privilege to introduce to you Mr. John Hale, the Associate Director of the Center for Civic Education. John?
Good evening. I hate to reinforce directly what my boss has said and what Bob Lemming has said and what Maria Gallo has said, but this really has been a tremendous experience for all of us. We hope that you had as great an experience as we did. Just to show that I'm a social media kind of guy, we got an email from a judge who participated this weekend, who sent his congratulations. It's impossible to express how impressed I was with each of the teams. It was an honor to witness, let alone judge, such an impressive group of students. Each of you and your teachers should be very proud. It's students like you that keep me optimistic about the future of our great nation. And boy, do I ever echo that sentiment. So thank you, folks. All right. We want to make sure that all of the folks who have traveled to the National Invitational have an opportunity to have a nice picture from the front here as we honor the achievements that you've made. So I'm going to introduce the honorable mention recognitions. I would ask the teacher and all of the students to come up for each of these presentations. Coronado K-8 School in Arizona, please come to the stage. Now I would like to welcome to the stage the teacher and students from Stanley British Primary School in Colorado. Next, I would like to summon to the stage Marshwood Middle School from Maine. Last but not least, the teacher and students from Gahanna Middle School in Ohio. Now we come to the unit awards. That is, of the class, the honorable mention classes, the top scorers in each of the units will be recognized. I would ask that the teacher and the students who are on that unit come to the stage when I call out your name. Unit 1, what were the founders' basic ideas about government? The winner is, from Colorado, Stanley British Primary School. Unit 2, what shaped the founders' thinking about government? The unit award goes to Gahanna Middle School from Ohio. Unit 3, what happened at the Philadelphia Convention? The winner is Stanley British Primary School from Colorado. Unit 4, how was the Constitution used to establish our government? The Unit 4 winner, Gahanna Middle School, Ohio. Unit 5, how does the Constitution protect our basic rights? And the winner of Unit 5, Stanley British Primary School. Unit 6, what are the responsibilities of citizens? Unit 6 winner is from Gahanna Middle School. Which leads the top 4 awards as the last awards to be given for the evening. With these awards, we would like the teacher and all of the students in the class to come onto the stage. Fourth place went to Rachel Carson Middle School in Virginia. The third place goes to Inza R. Wood Middle School. Now it's going to be no surprise when I announce the second place winner as to which class came in first. But we would appreciate the winners of the overall competition allowing the second place team to get its full due. So can we please have the teacher and students of Bob Graham Educational Center. Which doesn't leave a whole lot of suspense. The first place winner, Fishers Junior High School in Indiana. And now I turn it back over to Bob Lemming.
Well, let's give another hand to all of the classes, all of the teachers. This concludes our award ceremony for the 2017 National Invitational. Have a great trip home and have a great life, and hopefully we'll see all these teachers and students back here next year. Good evening to all of you.